Last Christmas we gave a method of modelling the organic structure of holly in SolidWorks using the freeform feature, deform feature and some surfacing tips. This year, with the release of Visualize 2021, come some great new tools, one of them being the highly improved displacement feature for advanced appearances, meaning instead of modelling the holly in SolidWorks, I set myself the challenge of creating the entire Christmas scene just from within Visualize. This should be helpful for people without access to SolidWorks, such as people in the marketing team, people that don't need to manufacture the part, perhaps because it is still in concept stage, or as it is just as the background for product renders, but also the tools I cover should be useful for everyone who wants to get more advanced with their Visualize skills. We are going to start off with a brand new standard project, and we are not going to import anything from CAD. Instead, we're going to use the primitives built into Visualize. You can add these by going to Project, Models, New Models, and picking the primitive you want. In this case, I'm going to just pick a flat plane. Nothing special about this, but we'll move it up slightly with the object manipulation tool so we can see it a bit easier. So this is a holly leaf, but obviously it is lacking a bit of detail at the moment. So let's apply a simple appearance like green paint. One new feature of 2021 is if I want to go to the appearance I select on, instead of having to change my selection tool, I can simply double click on the appearance I want to edit. Every little helps to save time. I shall change the appearance to give it a little less clear coat and a bit more roughness for the reflection of a holly leaf. We are going to make this look like a leaf by applying a PNG file of this leaf I grabbed off Google. We only want one leaf and not a pattern, so we're going to untick repeat on the tiling and make sure the leaf covers a good proportion of the plane. Next, we need to cut the sides away. We're going to do this with an alpha channel. We will make sure the sync textures option is on so it goes to the same place as the colour image, and then click the alpha channel and bring in this time just a black and white version of the leaf image. You can see it is starting to look more like a leaf. Thus far, everything we have done has been in the previous versions of Visualize. Now for the new bit, the displacement mapping. Previously, you could use a bump or normal map to simulate texture, but this would just change how the light reacted with the part. It wouldn't actually manipulate the part. A displacement tick box did used to be an option, but was very limited in control. So now in 2021, I can easily use a black and white image to actually bend my leaf. So I made a very simple gradient picture file to show this. However, this doesn't do anything until I change another option called displacement density found in the texture mapping tab. This value specifies the maximum length of the edge of a subtriangle, so essentially the higher the value, the smaller the triangles, and the better the quality. However, it is a toss-up between speed and quality, so you don't want to just make it as high as possible. You can now see the leaf bending, with white bits of the displacement map being pushed down and the black bit of the map being brought up. However, I also want the sharp points in the leaf to go down slightly, as well as the middle section, and therefore I will change my displacement map for one I have added white dots and a white centre line, so the leaf is a little bit more wavy. I will now hide this leaf and I will create one of the berries. I will bring the leaf back and copy it once I have all the parts in the project so that I can place them together easily. To create the berry, I shall add another primitive, but this time a sphere. I shall bring this up and scale up slightly by 1.2. At the moment, this is just one surface, but I want a little bit of it to be a different colour to show where the berry stalks come from. To do this, I shall use Split Part. If I right click and select Edit and Split Part, I can then select the faces from the underlying polygon I want to split from the rest of the sphere. This then allows me to add 2 different appearances to my sphere. Next, I'm going to add another primitive for the floor. Although there is a floor I can add reflections and shadow to in the Scenes tab, I want to add a piece of geometry so I can add a wooden texture and see the displacement tools again. I will add this wooden texture, and as you can see, it looks quite nice but very flat, especially when I look at it from a narrow angle. I will add the displacement map that I have created to this appearance, and again add a displacement density to see a more 3D looking wooden panelling. This is especially obvious at the end of the piece of wood. So let's now get everything together by using the object manipulations tools plus the duplicate tools to get a few of each object in the scene. I will also manipulate the camera to get a nice angle, add a warming scene to provide some orangey festive lighting, and a backplate of a Christmas tree and fire. We're almost there. The final few things I want to do is add a candle behind the holly with a light in, and add a bit of bloom and depth of field to my camera to really elevate the image. In keeping with my desire to do everything in Visualize, I will create a candle holder inside of Visualize using the primitives that I will do it in a different project so that I can easily reuse this candle for other projects and simply import it in. This time I'm going to use the primitive of Gumdrop to give me a nice round candle holder, but then cut the top off again using the split part feature. I will then add a cylinder that is going to represent a tea light. I will put a photometric light on this later, so I don't need any other geometry like the wick, and because I'm going to be focused on this part, I'm not going to add much more detail apart from this. The only other thing I'll do is add some appearances. I'll add an aluminium effect onto the cylinder and a marble effect onto the holder. To make it a bit more festive, I will use a Christmas tree cutout pattern on the holder using another alpha channel. Finally, I will merge these together so they appear as one part when I import it into other projects. Now my candle is done, I will import it into my holly project using the simple import feature. I will scale it up slightly and place it in position using the object manipulation tool. The final thing for the candle is the light. I will use a photometric light by right-clicking, selecting Add, New Light and pick Position. I will pick at the top of the cylinder to place it and then change the light to a point light. To be able to see it in Visualize, I will click Visible, increase the sphere radius to make the light source a little bit bigger and put the brightness to 50. So it matches the nice warm look I am going for, I will change the colour to a warm yellow. The very last thing to do is to turn to my position camera, set the bloom so I get a nice effect on the light, and set the depth of field so I'm focused on the berries. And voila! A Christmas holly scene completely created in SOLIDWORKS Visualize. Why not check out the other new features in Visualize 2021 or our other blogs on My Solid Solutions. We hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.